You're listening to Synergy to Synastry, the podcast where two corporate girlies called to follow their intuition take you on a journey of self-exploration through metaphysical modalities.
I'm Christine, intuitive coach and clairvoyant.
And I'm Renee, psychic intuitive and astrologer.
We're excited that you're here and honored to be your spiritual guides. If you enjoy this podcast, make sure to subscribe, rate, and review wherever you listen. It helps listeners find our show, plus it automatically enters you into our raffles to win a free psychic reading.
Now, let's get into the episode. I just hit record.
Okay, and we're back.
I'm like hearing noise, and I think it might be because I'm talking, but I'm hearing you.
That's weird. I don't know what to do because it's...
Am I on loud?
Oh, you know what? Let me lower it on my computer. What about now?
Let me talk a little bit louder.
Yeah.
I think your computer was just on too loud. You are delayed.
I am, right? Something's off.
Yeah, you're like super delayed.
What is happening?
Honestly, we should just keep all this in and start right here.
Okay, perfect.
We are convening to do episode 1 of season 3. As you will hear during our conversation, our dear listener, there are a lot of changes afoot, a lot of things that we had channeled when we did our spirit council back in November, which as of the time of recording is a little less than 2 months ago. We've had multiple conversations about where we're at in life, things that we are experimenting with, struggling with, trial and erroring. We had planned that episode 1 would be giving life updates as well as laying out what you can expect for season 3 that has evolved and changed over the last month and change. Christine, why don't you start us off? What have you been up to since season 2 ended?
What haven't I been up to? Let's start there. Would I get a job? The answer is yes. I did get a job. I started at the end of September, so like, hello eclipse season. I actually started the day that the sun moved into Libra. Libra rules my 10th house, the house of career. My 10th house gets activated. I start a job. And while it took me 10 months to get said job, I love it. It is the perfect job for me at this moment. So that's very exciting. However, I am adjusting to a new schedule in such a wild way. But Christine did get a job. Christine did also go to her high school reunion and did feel neutral about it. It's weird. I think it was my 20th high school reunion, which is so odd because I really had no expectations. And it was the most neutral thing I've ever done. Part of me was like, did I really just commute 2 hours for this? But it was wonderful to see my best friend and to remember things, all that good stuff. But yeah, it's kind of interesting how our dream segment foreshadowed what was going to happen for me. And now every time I have a dream, I'm like, was that a premonition or was that an allegory or something? So I thought that was really cool. And I'm trying to think of any other updates.
Well, you did your first event for your business.
I did. Thank God Renee's here because my brain is actual mush. So I did an event for a networking group of lawyers in New York. And in 3 hours, I read 35 people. So again, these were very small readings, like 5 to 10 minutes. And I was texting Renee because I was like, this is going to deplete me. Sure enough, it did. The next day, I took off of work because I was so drained, but it was so rewarding. Like, I love I'll call it the muggle job that I have now, the job in the real world. But this spiritual job of being able to read people, just amazing. And it just like sort of solidifies why I'm trying to do both, because one fulfills me and one pays my bills. If that makes any sense. I will say, though, I feel like the muggle job will allow me to sort of take what I've learned in the spiritual world, wake up a couple of light workers or healers who didn't know that they had something special about them. I think that's all exciting. I don't know. Renee, what have you been up to? Tell the world. Tell the people.
I mean, I haven't gone through so many big adjustments other than the main thing for me, which Christine and I were talking about before we went on mic, we definitely have in common, just in different manifestations of it, is I have been making a lot of changes to my routine and my schedule. or lack of scheduling. Tech-free time. So we've talked about tech Shabbats that Christina's done. I've had a whole version of that channeled and coming in, and these spirit hours, like they're all just different tools that every 4, 5, 6 weeks, whatever it is, they'll be like, okay, in 6 weeks, your schedule is going to change. And then I'll sit down and channel, and then they'll give me all new recommendations for how I'm planning my week ahead, how I am incorporating different initiatives to help me with my whack sleep schedule and shifting my energy, going with flow more, tapping into even more creativity, and having just these tech-free blocks where I'm just sitting around crafting for literally hours or reading for hours. And in some ways that is wonderful because I am someone who works a lot, because I'm very much, I want to do, let me do this. I have all these ideas and now I want to do them immediately. I overbook myself, I generate too much, and then I get stressed that I haven't gotten things done. But I'm the one who did those things and came up with the idea to do those things. And it is this wheel that has continued. So I have been in the process over the last several months since the season ended of unlearning some of that in such an intense way. I'm not fully on the other side of it, so it's in progress. Hopefully, I'm even further along in my journey by the time you hear this. But that kind of brings us to our plan for season 3. Intrinsically is tied to what is going on with our schedule. So as Christine was mentioning, she's now got her 9 to 5, longer than 9 to 5 because commute and hours and all that stuff. That's, disruptive to her schedule, disruptive to energy levels. And so we have connected multiple times trying to figure out, well, if my schedule is different, her schedule is different, and then how do we get our schedules to line up, our bandwidths lining up, ability to be fully present and engage with each other and provide the level of quality that we want for the listeners, and to meet the vision that we had channeled for this season with our spirit team. And like, how do we actually make that happen? So as I alluded to at the beginning, we have adjusted and readjusted what that vision is.
We do collective readings and then we forget about them. And then life happens and we're like, wait a minute, I think we did a reading about this. At the end of season 2, all I remember at this moment is one of the readings I did said, we're coming in for a rocky landing. And sure enough, Renee and I are having a rocky landing. I think it's more so that I'm just in a new arena of life and I haven't been here before. So I don't know what my schedule is like or what my energy level is like, or where I'm going to be in the next 2 days, which is both exciting and makes things difficult when you're working with another person and you're trying to plan a whole season. Basically, we did our retreat. We chatted with the Spirit Council, and the Spirit Council was a little, I don't know what the word, I don't want to say vague.
They were definitely vague because we had to sit there decoding. I was like, what the heck does this even mean?
I think they didn't want to take away the surprise of like, ladies, shit's going to get real rocky. But they did want to give us a heads up because they kept telling us we're going to do things differently this year. And we didn't understand how or why. Again, Renee and I are very type A people who are like, yeah, we'll just plan a schedule and then do it. Like, what's the problem? Well, the problem, friends, is life. And life is getting in the way, basically. So while I love the new job that I have, it's coming with a lot of responsibility that I'm excited to have. But also, I am only one person, so I don't have the energy to do all the things. So what Renee and I have come up with is basically we're going to go along with the theme of the year that I'll let Renee talk about in a second. We're going to go with the theme of the year that we channeled because we both think it's really interesting and worth talking about. The way that we transmit the information to you is going to be slightly different. Renee is going to be more of the stay-at-home parent, and I'm going to be the working out of the house parent.
Oh my God.
In the way that I see it. Like, you're going to hear from Renee consistently. She's going to be the main voice that you hear in recording the episodes. When my schedule allows, I'm going to jump in and record real time with Renee. I am going to try to record little voice notes so I can stay in touch with you. I can comment on the episodes. It's like I'm here, but it's just not happening in the real time that Renee and I typically do things. So you will notice a different vibe with the podcast. You still get the relationship of Renee and I. You still get our analysis on things. You still hear our discussions in a way that you're used to. With that, Renee, please tell the listener what the theme for this year is.
The theme that came through is lore. Season 2, we had the theme of application. Everything that we were teaching needed to be applicable to your day-to-day. What are practices that I can implement? And season 3 is building on that because we do have a practices component. But the season came through as being structured into 3 mini-series of 3 parts. Part 1, the lore. We have chosen 3 different cultures. Culture 1, we would say, what is the lore? We'll go into some history, giving some context. What is the origin? What are the spiritual roots? Episode 2 is modernity. How that lore is existing in present day. How people tend to engage with it, maybe how we engage with it, its general relevance. And then part 3, practices. What we did last season where we chose different divination tools. So anything that inspires us from that lore and how we could engage with it, we are applying it. It would be an opportunity to report on it. Maybe it's a recipe that we make or a museum that we go to or a movie that we watch or a book that we read, any sort of other spiritual practice, we can discuss that. Because you may be wondering, oh my gosh, wait, where are the collective readings? You're yelling at your phone. What about the collective readings? That's my favorite part. Those are going to be separated. They'll come between each of the mini series. They won't be applicable to just your week ahead. They could completely vary. I'm sure that when we're channeling, so whether it's just me or whether it's Christine and I, that the time period will be shared with us as we are doing said recording and forecast. And in those special episodes, we'll also have some behind the scenes content, maybe additional bloopers or other updates. Pretty much everything about our episode format is changing. Normally in our episodes, we have an intro of us talking, we have the educational content, we're sharing stories, and then we have different segments at the end. What I learned this week in season 1, our dream segment in season 2, and then our collective reading. So there's no more segments because we just have the subject matter of the episode. That's even before the scheduling changes. So we already had channeled that with our guides and we're like, whoa, this is like revolutionary. This is completely different. We love that we were going back to the well in a lot of ways and talking about history because it's something that Christine and I have been discussing personally. Like we've been drawn to learn more about religion or different modalities. And we're like always sending each other posts on social media with different thought leaders and going back to understand different cultures. So it felt like it was a natural progression when that did come through for the season.
And I will tell you guys, what I think is really interesting is that Renee and I are in a 3 numerology creative year. We're getting creative. We talked about the podcast, and even with the lack of time and the changing of schedules, this is something that we really love doing and we really enjoy doing, and we really enjoy doing together. So stick with us this season. Feel free to email us with things you like, things you don't like. I think in a time of uncertainty, we know we don't have control, but like we really don't have control right now. If new things pop up and you're like, oh, I love that, please keep that, shoot us an email, send us a DM. We're here. Otherwise, like, thanks for sticking with us. As we're recording right now, I'm like, oh God, I can't believe our schedule is changing because I just love chatting so much. I don't know how you feel, Renee, but I'm like, I'm scared of the change. And I'm also like, that's when the coolest things come in. We don't know what we don't know.
We've talked pretty extensively. Like we were today supposed to be recording for 2 hours and we spent an hour and 40 minutes of that time talking and trying to figure out what is it that we were going to do and what's our plan and how are we feeling and what's going on with our lives. It's important to us that in the podcast, that connection is still there. So you are still hearing from us, but you're going to hear from us in different ways. We're still friends. We're still going to be talking. We're still going to be in communication. And how that is translated through the podcast is just going to be presented a little bit differently. We still want to do this. We're just trusting the journey and knowing that we do have the support to do it, the drive, the aspiration to continue it. But that for whatever reason, in the very, very transformative transitional year that is 2026, it's just going to be very variable, very different feeling. And we will continue to reconvene and adjust and pivot even during the production season, see how things play out. And we'll, of course, provide updates along the way if things are changing as we are going through it. Because maybe what we say now, a few months down the road, something pivots and we're going to do something a little bit different. So this is the current plan.
Before we go, I do want us to each say one thing that we're excited about for this season, since for two type A Virgo personalities, this is quite alarming that we don't actually have the plan we thought we had. The one thing I'm excited about this year is I am going to be traveling for work, and there are different destinations that I'm going to, and I'm kind of excited, especially with this season of the lore, maybe while I'm traveling for work, to go visit the lore of the places that I'm in. So that could be Canada, that could be other parts of the US, that could be parts of Europe. There's so much rich culture. And now it's coming to me, Renee. I don't know if you remember this, but when we were channeling, we were having trouble picking just 3 cultures to talk about this year. Now I'm like, oh, I'm going to be experiencing a lot of different cultures. Maybe that's how we get our little flavor in that we couldn't really pack in our initial thought process. So Spirit knows what they're doing, basically.
Yes.
We don't.
And also, honestly, to that point, something that came in the Spirit Council was travel.
You're right.
I had written down us doing a trip or like us going somewhere. And then that could be a whole other experience where we're just like, okay, we were planning on maybe covering a certain culture or doing something in the structure. And we're like, just kidding. We're not going to do a retreat in this city or this town or at each other's homes. We're going to go somewhere that we can look into the lore or experience it or tap into different spiritual modalities while we're there. And then we could just document it. What am I looking forward to? For me, it is a fog. That's how I feel about 2026. Trying to like blow the cloud out of the way so I can see what's behind it. I just keep getting like, it's too soon. And so I just keep getting nudged. For me, for someone who is such a planner, I never just forecast what I'm doing that day or that week. I'm always looking ahead. One of the things that I have been working on, or my spirit team has been training me out of, is to stop going so far ahead and be focusing a little bit more in the present or doing things in the present moment. As you're asking the question, I just keep getting, I'm not supposed to be looking at it. We're going to transform. The collective is going to transform. We're just going to be bearing witness to and experiencing that. Whatever. I don't even care if things get shaken up. By the time that you'll hear this episode, I'll finally be out of my Saturn return. I'll be doing a jig. It's not over at the time of recording. I view all that stuff differently now. Things are going to change. Let's just go for it. Let's ride the wave and we'll see where we get to on the other side, because it may feel disruptive in the moment, but then we realize a few months later, oh my gosh, that's the best thing that ever happened.
I do think the collective is feeling the exact same thing we're feeling. Listener, if you're like, I also see fog or cloud or something that's very opaque, it's normal. Like, we're all going through it. And if you are one of those people who can see what's coming, please send us an email, because we cannot.
No, it's not that we can't. It's we're not supposed to.
Right.
That's something that always comes up. Just because we're psychic, we're highly intuitive, we're also people and we live in the human experience, and our guides literally laugh at us. No, you don't get to know that, because we don't just get to be all powerful, omniscient beings and know everything. We have to learn, we have to experience, we have to face obstacles and get to the other side of them. So if we're just given a complete roadmap rather than a puzzle with a lot of missing pieces and a lot of extras that don't even go in there to distract us, we're never going to get there, and it's never going to be satisfying when we get to put the last piece in that completes the image.
Again, we're in our creative year for numerology, but it feels like what Renee and I are creating in this podcast is almost an art piece of what real-time growth looks like. Renee, I think you started this podcast, you turned 30, I was 36, 37. Those are pivotal times in every person's life. And here we are kind of just putting it out there for you all to see, like, it's messy. And as Virgo people, we don't love messy. But like, here we are in the mess and like putting it out in the public. Right. This would not have been us 3 years ago. So mazel, right?
But you know what it is? It's South Node in Virgo. This eclipse series, it started in March with season 2, but this whole process has been us needing to shed. We got to do things a little less perfectly, a little less controlled, a little bit more fluid, more in the Piscean creative area, leaning into our intuition, trusting the process, knowing what our limits are, because Pisces doesn't always, and Pisces wants to retreat when it feels overwhelmed. So it's like, how can we still stay connected to each other, to our intuition, to our guides, to our listeners? If you listen to our 2026 forecast episode, you heard me talking about this, that we're going to be in this energy past 2026. I won't go into a full astrological tangent because we did talk about some of this previously, but yeah, there's a lot of variables and things that we are all dealing with, and then we're dealing with individually. And so as long as we can find our center, find our home base, know what's important, know what it is that we want to do, who we want to be as people, that's what we can focus on or ground with. Virgo loves to ground. So as long as we have something tangible to hold on to, we can just go from there.
Yes, I mean, that's such a beautiful way to end. And side note, I was talking to a friend at work who is a Taurus sun. She was saying, I don't know why we can't just like lay on the floor when we get tired and ground. And I was like, I have never met someone who's my best earth friend immediately so fast. Like, yes, I too want to lay on the floor and ground, but we're both earth signs. So anyway, Renee tied the bow beautifully. I added a wild anecdote, and I'm sure I'll have more because I'm now interacting with more people.
Yeah.
We are so excited to be back, even if it's in a different way, for season 3. And I hope you're excited too.
And thank you for being patient, for coming along the journey with us, for all of the messiness, the experimentation. And please let us know what you like. So many things about the podcast are going to be different. There's so many changes and ones that we can't even anticipate. So what we have planned is a billion changes.
A billion.
So please let us know your feedback, what you like, what you miss, if it is inspiring you to brainstorm other ideas of what you'd like to see us do, whether during the season, if possible, or in the future. We're going to just keep it flowing, keep it doing whatever it's supposed to do.
Love you all so much. Thanks for listening. If you'd like to learn more, the resources we used to prepare for this episode are listed in the show notes.
If you're curious to develop your intuition, we've partnered with the Nuurvana Be Light program to give our listeners a $500 discount on tuition fees. Email us for more details and we'll connect you with the founder, Deganit Noor.
Want to connect with us? You can reach me, Christine, at Channeled by Christine with 1 L on Instagram.
And you can reach me, Renee, at _read by Renee, or connect with us both via email at synergytosynastry@gmail.com.
Keep your spirit curious and your aura sparkling.
We'll see you when the stars next align. You know, it does run out into the future a little bit. But, you know, I won't go on a full astrology tangent. I won't